Hello YouTube, my name is Shakarnas of the Gaming Handyman, and today I felt like going through a brief little structure about classes and races and just where to overall start your World of Warcraft experience. As you can see here, my paladin looks pretty badass and awesome with the Sword of a Thousand Truths, or as the game has it, the Sword of the Lifelessness. Um, I was a human when the game first started, but because I wanted to be a paladin. But as soon as the Burning Crusade came out all those years ago, I switched to the Horde, and I haven't looked back, and I love every second of it. All right, so let's get this started. So let's go to create a new character. So you can be a male or female, of course. It doesn't really matter. But pretty much it's whose butt do you want to stare at? Guy butt, girl butt. Guy butt, girl butt. Yeah, you know what you want. Pervs. Pervs, all of you. Every single one of you. I mean, it takes one to know one, but that's not the point. The easiest race I feel is human. Mostly because you are human, unless you're hiding from the government or some shit like that. But, it's not just the human shape and form, but also the structure of the towns and the cities, etc., etc. You ride on horses. It's easy for that. Elves is also a nice, good start too. You start in a wooden area, but there's a grand tree structure, and if you've read a few fantasy novels, played other fantasy games, watched fantasy movies, that's familiar. Their big cities do have a nice structure to them that you can be familiar with. Blood Elves, I mean, you can't see it here because they did the whole background change, but Blood Elves have a grand city as well that you could be used to from movies and other video games. If you're a nature lover, I would suggest Torrance because you start out in the woods, you go to these great plains, etc., etc. If you're a uh, if you're a goth or you just love darkness and you love Halloween, starting as undead is always a nice gesture too. Orcs, of course, they're pretty much similar to humans in structures, but of course it's just a little different. It's a little campy, is what it is. Gnomes, I'm gonna say right now, I fucking hate gnomes. I don't care if I was on Alliance, especially if I was, I'd make fun of anybody who's a gnome. But I hate gnomes. I don't care for them one bit. But they start escaping their city into Ironforge, where the dwarfs are. So if you're a good fan of even The Hobbit or in Lord of the Rings in general and stuff like that, that's good there. Goblins start on an island, and then they get washed ashore to the rest of Azeroth. So it's definitely a change and hard place to start. Worgen is very hard to start as well, because of where the beginning is and just all these different things. And being a panda as well, if you're a Pandarian, especially if you want to be a Kung Fu Panda right there. If you want to be a Kung Fu Panda, there you go. Kung Fu Panda. I know I'm going to get a trademark slash. God damn it. Anyway, so that's with the races. Again, if you want to start just to test it out and see where you fit, human, really good place to start, or Night Elf or Blood Elf. That's usually my or even Tauren. That's where I would say start. So with the classes, the easiest two classes I felt for anybody is going to be a warrior and a mage. Warrior, straightforward. Get the best armor, get the best weapons, and get into that action. Whether you're tank or DPS, all you is hack and slash. That's what you're doing. And with a mage, again, you're going to get the best armor you can get, with cloth being the highest rank you can get, but the best of your cloth. Stand way back over there and just shoot firebolts, frostbolts, or arcane missiles. After that, I would say hunter is your next best bet. It's a little harder, even though you have a pet to help you. Let's get rid of that. Even though you have a nice pet to help you, and some start with bows, some start with guns. Even though you have this pet to help tank and stuff, this pet is also follows the rules of any NPC or any enemies that you face. Meaning, you have to make sure your pet doesn't attack something you don't want to attack or go a certain way you don't want it to go. It's just another thing to think about. You don't have the best armor in the game. You can get up to male, I believe it is. So you have to also have to figure out, do you want to be range or do you want to be DPS? You gotta look that all up too. So after the hunter, I would go with the warlock because it's a very similar situation to the hunter. Your pet's basically something. Oops. Little technical difficulties here. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. What the hell is this garbage? Trying to do a video here and this shit happens. I wonder if I'll keep this in or not. Alright, let's do this. 4248520. Don't copy this code! It doesn't matter. You couldn't log in. You gotta be kidding. Can I log in now? Let's do this again. I gotta wait for this because I won't finish in time. 93627 And we're back. Alright, and we're back. If you're just joining us, I just went from, well, a female human warlock to that gnome. Fuck gnomes. If you call me racist against gnomes, I don't give a shit. I don't like the gnomes. I just want to kick them because they're little footballs. Anyways, so as I was saying, a warlock is very similar to a hunter because, again, you have a pet that you have to control and watch and make sure they don't screw up your gameplay. You're in even less armor, being cloth, and your damage is only shadow damage. Some actually have resistance against that, so you have to be careful, especially the bosses that, you know, with raids and stuff these days. Also, you don't have as much life as I feel as a mage, but you can, or even as much mana too, especially, but you can supplement your life into mana, so you gotta be careful of that as well. It's just a lot of things you have to be careful of. Even though you have a pet to help you, there's just more you have to deal with. So after a warlock, I would say the next hardest thing to do is a paladin. Paladins are basically warriors with magic. As it says there, heavy armored, use holy magic to heal wounds and combat evil, etc, etc, etc. Now you start basically acting like a retribution paladin for a couple levels, but you can easily get a sword and shield, or an axe and shield, or hammer and shield to start practicing your tanking before you hit level 10, depending if you want to be a tank or not. Yeah, as I said, you can heal, and there is a healing spec. You are the best defense healer, but you do have the weakest heals of all the healers, so that's definitely something you're going to want to look into if you want to heal. But it's I wouldn't suggest it, especially if you want to be a healer. If you want to be a healer, there's others to go for, but it's just that. You're not as strong as a warrior, but you can be, and there's a certain rotation you must follow in order to make sure that you're doing everything right. And that's unlike a warrior where there is a good rotation as well that you could follow. You can mess it up a little bit. This is a paladin. I would suggest you keep your rotations so you don't die or kill your party. So after that, I'm going to go with a druid, which I can't do with this character, so let's pick up a night elf and switch to druid. Now, druids, a lot of people would say a druid is actually a better character to play than a paladin, depending on who you are. But a druid here has many different forms. You have the bear form, cat form, you also have a boomkin form for balance, and a tree of life form for healing spec. However, when you start the game, you pretty much start as a balanced player. Now, yes, you can get your bear form and cat form before you hit level 10, but you're pretty much going to get most of your abilities for balance. A lot of the things that you're going to get leveling up between levels 1 through 10 is going to be balance related. So, in that respect, you're basically learning how to play one way, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's 2 other ways I can play. There's actually 3 other ways you can play, because there's 4 specs instead of 3. It's the only class that has that, so be careful. It's a lot of practice when you go from one thing to another. If you're able to adapt, this is definitely for you. If you're one of those people who adapts to anything, this is the class for you. So just be wary of that. So after you, I think the next hardest one is a shaman, which again I'm gonna have to change here. There, oh, did it for me. Thank you, game. So we have a nice Janai here, dressed as a shaman character. Actually, I'm gonna do this because I feel like I'm not addressing my fellow hordes, my fellow horde players. Here's a shaman for a sexy Tauren. Look at that tail. Woo! Fanfic, fanfic, fanfic. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so shamans, they can get up to male armor, I believe, and they have 3 different specs. One is elemental for their range, enhancement for melee DPS, and restoration for healing. It's again, it's not the strongest character. They have these totems that were supposed to rival um, a paladin's blessings, but they were crap in comparison. That's why, because originally only shamans were on this side, and only paladins were on this side. But once they realized that it's not fair, that they decided to switch it over. So during Burning Crusade, that's again when Blood Elves became paladins, and Draenei became shamans and paladins. So you get 3 paladin classes and only 1, which I believe the Taurens should have been a paladin class since the beginning, since they follow the light, being Sunwalkers. But that's a whole different story. Um, but again, it's a little harder. You're in weaker armor. Most people don't do the enhancement because it's a melee and it's not too strong. If you're going to be melee, there's other classes that are stronger in that respect. So I would suggest those instead. But the elemental, which I hear you, lightning bolt or chain lightning, is very powerful. But again, you're not as strong as other range, and you just have to be wary of that. People don't really see shamans as strong, but the healing, though, I will say, healing is definitely stronger than paladins, and you guys, and that's the greatest thing too. Shamans have these great healing abilities, these huge circles of healing. It's amazing. You guys are one of the best healers. I would say you guys are right under priest, which I'll get into afterwards. Um, but most people don't really want to be a healer. Most people want to play as a combatant, which so just be wary of that. So after shaman, I'm gonna say monk. So let's go with our pandas. Kung Fu Panda. Boom, ba-dum. I know I'm gonna get a strike. I don't care. Now this can be, of course, either one, alliance or horde. You decide at the end of your tutorial. And so the tank class uses energy like a rogue, and I'll get into that in a moment. Melee and healer uses mana, and a healer has virtually no attacks, like 1 or 2 attacks. So be really careful about that. If you are a monk healer, I would really suggest being melee most of the time, and then do heals for raids or group activities, because it's just a pain in the ass to do straight as a healer, just a solo and everything like that. If you're a tank, again, you use energy. It's a really hard thing to do. There's a game called Jade Empire. I don't know if anybody's played it. It's from Xbox back in the day, but there is a style called Drunken Master style, and basically that's what you play as. And it's just a really weird way to play if you've never seen or heard of it before. So please, please be careful when you do that. And go through the ropes, test it out, go through a couple of easy dungeons so you understand really how to play your tank. Again, if you are trying to level up, be your melee self with Mistweaver, and then go into your tank form when you're doing that. So after Monk, Rogue is the next hardest. And the reason why is because Rogue is a very certain type of way of play. And if you don't follow the basicness of a rogue, you're not going to have a good time. It really is. I've tried Rogue. I'm a melee player, and I've tried Rogue, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not saying no one else can. I'm not saying if you're a first time player you can't, but it's so hard for me. And I feel that if you don't, and I even a friend of mine says, listen, all you gotta do is this basic stuff. And I followed his directions, and then after I did that, I felt bored, so I tried to spruce it up a little bit, and I didn't do well. So I'm not good with the stealth. You can choose to be really good with your poisons. There's a difference between, wielding daggers versus one-handed weapons, like swords and stuff like that. So again, it's all about what you're really doing with this rogue. Whether it's easy or hard is up to you. Now, we've gone through all of them except for priest. Alright, now I believe this is the hardest class to play in this game for a few reasons. Number one, everyone's going to want you to be a healer. So if you play Shadow, which is the only real damaging spec, you're kind of shit out of luck if you don't know how to heal or you have nothing for your heals. Second, if you do play Discipline, which is best in PvP, you can't heal unless you attack. So if you have nothing to attack, you can't heal. So you can't just heal when you're just out of combat. And then if you are a holy spec, again, the majority, much like a monk with Spirit Weaver, the majority of your spells will be heals. However, you do have more damaging spells. But unlike a monk, where you have leather armor, and it's easier to change on the fly, a priest is in cloth armor, so you're in the weakest armor, and you don't really have too much high stats to protect you. So it's going to be hard to get through it. I've tried it. I've gotten up a Blood Elf Priest up to level 50, and as much as I got up there and I was happy to, I wasn't really having fun, so I got rid of her. And that's, again, that's all how you feel about that. Now, there are two more. Let me use Night Elf here or Blood Elf here. There are two more classes here. These are your hero classes. I would not recommend your hero classes. First of all, you can't get them unless you have level 55 on one server for this one, and a level 70 on this realm for the second one. Now, of course, I'm a veteran player. How do I not have one? Well, it's because I'm a different realm right this second. I'll switch it in a minute. But actually, let me do it right now. Let me change realms real quick for you. Alright. There we go, back here. Alright. Now, here's my Demon Hunter, because I can't make more than one, so they won't even let me highlight it. But, again, he starts at level 98, so if you only have a level 70, how are you going to handle level 98 or even the content close to level 100? So that's the problem. And then, again, with Death Knight's the same thing. If you don't have a level 55, you can't create one. That's number one. And unless they change that, which I think they did with the other realm. But no, it's because I have one here. If you have a level 55 on one realm, then you can make a Death Knight on any realm. So there's that. If you, again, on this realm, you have to have a level 70 or higher to make a Demon Hunter. But again, if you're at level 55 and once you get a starting area, you're at level 58, if you don't really know what you're doing, what's the point? So I'm not going over these two. There's no point right now. Not for starting classes are right here. You got, let's see, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 starting classes. Go have fun with one. Now, if you enjoyed yourself a lot and you're like, well, I want to play another melee class, but I don't want to play any of these, and you got your character up to level 100, 110, go for one of these. Now remember, Death Knights can be anything here except pandas, because pandas were on the Wandering Isle or in Pandaria away from the Scourge. Worgens technically shouldn't be Death Knights only because they were behind Gilneas, though the gate of Gilneas, so they weren't to protect themselves from the Scourge and the Plague, so there's no point. Though I kind of find it funny that her nose is poking through the mask. Wait, look at that. See? Oh, I see it now. But it's just like everybody else, their face will not poke through the mask, except for Worgen. snout and everything. It's not really helping if your snout's out there. It's not that menacing anymore. Undead looks less menacing because you looked more menacing when you were showing that face. Oh god, that face. And for demon hunters, you have to be either a blood elf or a night elf because the Illidare, which are demon hunters, were recruited only as one of those two races. So thank you all for watching my video today. If you found this very informative, please put in the comments below. If you want me to go over a certain class for you, or if you need some extra help, I can do another video. Just put in the comments below. I'll answer any questions. If you liked this video, press that like button. I really appreciate it. If you didn't like this video, I don't care. And don't forget to go over to the Gaming Handyman page when you have that up. And I play some games with my friends, and we have a good time. Whether we're being drunk or stupid, it's pretty much not any different. And, of course, until the next video, guys. See ya.